Okay. Hi, Brittany. My name is Heather, and I'm going to be doing your kind of like an interview today, just kind of about what brings you into our office. So, you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I was out with some friends and we just had dinner, and then dinner turned into some drinks, and it had been a really rough week, and I went a little overboard with drinking, and I ended up getting a DUI,
Okay.
which is something I never thought would happen.
Okay. What happened after you had gotten your DUI and
Well,
what did your
I
night
still
look
need to figure out court stuff, but
like?
they sent me here. And then I don't have my license, which makes it really hard to get to work.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's kind of what's going on.
So, I just want to kind of get some information from you. Your license, how long will that be suspended for?
I believe, I'm not really sure. I think I find out when I first go to court, but it could be up to 6 months because this is my first time ever getting in trouble.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And with transportation, what does that look like right now? How are you getting around from place to place? And
well, I have a coworker that picks me up, but with my job, I need to use a vehicle, so that makes it kind of hard. And I've been doing a lot of stuff in the office, and then my parents help on the weekends, things like that. But it makes me feel bad to have to rely on other people.
so it sounds like this is a really tough time just with transportation, and it may even be affecting just how you're getting around to places or even managing things at work. So 6 months for that. And then, so how is your employer? How has your employer responded to this situation?
They're aware, and they didn't fire me. They basically are following, like they're making sure I'm receiving help because they have to put that in their file. So I have like a fact file now,
Okay.
which is embarrassing.
So is that part of what brought you in today with your employer wanting you?
Yes,
to
it's
reach
a
out for help as
combination.
well? And what do you
things.
and when you think about your drinking and you reflect back on that night that you got your DUI, what are some thoughts that you have about that night?
Just that I knew I probably shouldn't have taken shots, because if I'm just having a drink, a couple mixed drinks or something like that, or having a beer, it's not the same as shots. And I think that's what kind of just escalated. And then I just started, it's like once you have a few, then it's like, oh, and then a few more. And then it just kind of spiraled. Because I don't really drink that much through the week. It's more just on the weekends.
So it sounds like and you correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like when you think back to that night, there's some regret there. And
yes. And I knew I shouldn't have driven, because I even mentioned to my friend, oh, I don't know if I should drive or not. But then I didn't want to call the taxi because that's just embarrassing. And they all were driving separately, and I didn't want to get a ride home with them.
Yeah, so even just some regret in making that decision, and it sounds like some of the things that you said, there might be even a lot of just like some guilt and some embarrassment, some shame for your decision for driving that night.
Yes, I mean, I'm 33 years old. This is something that if it was going to happen, I would have thought would have happened in my early 20s. I'm more responsible. I should know the difference, and I'm really embarrassed with my family and friends, but.
Well, and so it sounds like it's even important for you how your parents and your friends view you and the relationship that you have with them. Do you feel like this DUI has affected your relationship just in general? How do you think that this situation has affected or impacted your relationship with others in your life?
I mean, my friends are supportive, and they have even said, you know, oh, everyone has driven when they've drank too much before,
Okay.
But my parents were very disappointed in my decision because of, I'm older, I should have known not to drive.
And when you think about that with your parents and their reaction, what are some thoughts that you have about that?
I think just rebuilding that trust with them, that that they don't have to worry that I am making good decisions, and that they don't have to worry at night, just that I'm safe.
So that even sounds like your relationship with your parents is really important and a priority for you as well right now, and rebuilding their trust is something that's important. So it sounds like trust is an important thing for you in general, an important value. Looking back at before the night of your DUI, what would you say your drinking looked like? Then how many drinks would you say that you were having? About a week? What did that look like?
Through the week, maybe 2 nights I would have a glass of wine or 2. Sometimes I would go and I wouldn't have any until Friday, but normally on the weekends, just to let loose and hang out with friends, I would have on a typical night probably 5 drinks or more, just depending.
Okay.
Over a long span of time, but still.
Where's your drinking at now? What does that look like?
With probation, I'm not allowed to drink, so I'm not drinking, which hasn't been too difficult. It's just hard because when I'm around my friends, I feel like I have an alcohol, I'm not an alcoholic, but I feel like that's what I'm being portrayed as.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that sounds like that could be really tough to feel like someone is labeling you or judging you for something that you have done.
And then they're like, oh, well, you can just have 1 drink. And I'm like, no, actually, I can't. So. Okay. A little pressure at times.
Well, it sounds like you've got some really awesome things happening for you. And outside of the DUI, I mean, you have a close network of friends. It sounds like you have a pretty close relationship with your family. You have a stable job. And those things are really important to you. Yes. And do you think that those are things that will help you throughout your probation and just staying sober? And what would you say your motivations are towards staying sober? And
I would say my job. My job, I need a job, and so they want me to complete this, and nobody really likes talking to people, but I feel like maybe I can gain something else out of it. So,
and and I think that's a very positive perspective to have. What are some things? What do you think that you could gain from taking this time to talk to someone or taking a class? I mean, what are some things that you think you could gain that would help you just in your future and being more cautious in your decision making, and even thinking about your drinking, and sobriety? What do you think that you could gain?
I think maybe just figure out other ways to maybe cope with stressful days. And just someone to kind of bounce back, when I'm struggling with something. Just someone to talk to. Some resiliency. Yeah.
Some skills in that. Is there any other things that you think that would be helpful for you?
I mean, I've always kind of struggled a little bit with depression and anxiety. I take medicine and it's been controlled for many years, but I mean, it's something that always just kind of is there.
Okay. So it sounds like you've identified some benefits, you know, from you know, moving further with like therapy and group and you know, helping you. You said that you've struggled with depression, anxiety, and
Mhm.
sometimes that very much can impact how much you drink, or you know, so even going into therapy, even focusing on those things can
Mhm.
it sounds like could be beneficial to you, and learning some coping skills
Yeah.
and resiliency. Okay, I think that sounds great. And how did you feel about coming here today?
I was really nervous, and I honestly just sat in the parking lot for a while because I didn't want to get out of the car because it's just uncomfortable to talk about things.
How do you feel after you shared some of these things with me today?
I felt like I was going to be judged, and
Mhm.
I don't feel like I was, so that makes me feel better. And
Mhm.
just that, you know, people come to the office every day with different stuff, so
Mhm.
it's just a normal part of life.
Mhm. And I think that's it sounds like from what you described was some self-compassion towards yourself, you know, some compassion towards, hey, I'm human, I make mistakes, but it sounds like you're very open
Mhm.
to suggestions and talking about some of these things. So what we'll do moving forward is we'll go ahead and we'll create kind of a treatment plan, and we'll focus on some goals and some objectives for you. You know, you can identify some of those things with me as well.
Okay.
And, you know, how often, what do you think would be beneficial for you? And I'm sure through probation they're going to mandate some sort of time frame in all of this, but how often would you be willing to come in and
Maybe like every 2 weeks
okay
in the beginning, and then maybe if things feel a little bit less stressful, maybe every month or something.
Mhm.
I'll have to double check because I can't remember what my probation officer said.
okay okay, I think that sounds great, and thank you for coming in and sharing all that information with me. I know that that's not easy, and it can be really scary and challenging, so
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
you're welcome.